you have to grow in this league, and if you don't, you'll get exposed, honestly. And as a team, just growing, pushing each other each and every day, not worrying about the results at the moment, but just worrying about the effort, I should say.
You posted shortly after it was over that, paraphrasing, but you're almost ready to get back at it. That you didn't really get the sense of enjoyment. I don't know if that's the right word. Enjoyment out of the thought you might. That have you given any more thought to that since then?
No, the parade was very special. I celebrated it, and it was very fun. But after that moment, it was back to work, back to trying to find new ways to get better.
Was that a surprise to you?
That was how you thought?
It did, because coming into the league, we were taught we're playing for this reason, we're playing for this trophy. And once we got the trophy, and it was just like, I thought everything would be fulfilled, like the hard work and everything, but no, it's the journey. It's the journey that matters the most and it means the most, because those are the moments that you look back with your teammates and you spending that time and you going to war, you're suffering together and you're winning together. And that's the beautiful moments in it, I mean, the trophy, we can't take the trophy home, but it's cool that that's forever in the history books, but we're going to remember the moments more than the ring, so.
What have your interactions been like with Kevin Patulo since he became EOC?
Pretty much the same, honestly. Me and him always had a great relationship anyway, and he's been doing a great job stepping in with the team. He's just leading the meetings now more, but he's been doing a great job, I should say again, and our relationship is great. So
how do you go about deciding? Excuse me. How do you go about deciding like what you need to work on during the off season, what you want to get better at, and what is your process for deciding what that might be?
It always just boils down to just watching film and the things, and you just take notes. You just take notes of what you didn't do really well last year, and then that may have snuck through the cracks that nobody never realized. But deep down, everybody knows their weaknesses and their strengths, and you just trying to find new ways just to pick a few things, and you focus on that during the summer, on the OTAs.
I'm sorry. Last time we asked you about the Olympics, you had said I wasn't sure of the age and you'd be 30, but you also wanted to compete for gold. Now it looks like that's actually going to be allowed to happen. Wondering if you still feel the same way about your age, and would you want to compete?
So I heard the Olympics is during camp. Yeah, so no. Yeah, so that would be tough. That would be tough, but hopefully that goes through, and I think that would be fun just to compete, and me personally, no, but because of camp, and you guys will be complaining about A.J. Brown is not at camp, and so will the fans be, so I'm gonna keep the main thing, as Jay say.
AJ, we saw in the Super Bowl that the passing offense needed to come through like you kind of were forecasting when you spoke out in December. Looking ahead to next season, obviously there's going to be a lot of tension on stopping Saquon. How do you approach what you think the offense will need to look like, or at least be able to adapt to, knowing that's likely to be the case?
I can't predict how the offense will look next year, but I do know we have to evolve as a team, evolve as an offense, and I think that's a question for KP, honestly. And for me, my job is just to focus on whenever I get those opportunities, just make the most of them. And that's pretty much, that's my box. That's the box I'm going to stay in. But so.
Is that something you felt like you guys learned as a team from the first Super Bowl year, but then when you came back the next year, things weren't great? They talked about needing a fresh perspective after the year. Is that why it's so important going into this year that you guys grow and evolve? Yeah,
that's an every year thing. Nobody knows what it's going to look like. And shoot, we don't even know. Even in camp, we're trying out things. We're trying new plays, and we're trying to get a new feel for the team because it's a different team. And trying to get a feel for each other and just continue to prepare. And we will know week 1 against Cowboys, honestly.
What's the backstory for getting John Legend? What's the backstory? How do you go about getting John Legend in your proposal?
He's a big Eagles fan. He's a big Eagles fan. He went to school here in Penn. So it just kind of teamed up perfectly for me, and so I'm gonna leave it at that.
AJ, you were among a handful of Eagles who didn't go to the White House. Why didn't you go?
I had a personal reason I was dealing with that day, and so it wasn't about politics or who's in the office or anything. You know, I just had something personal going on with my family. So.
To go back to what you said earlier, to realize that it's about the journey and the moments, how has that changed how you approach those moments?
Just being present. You know, at times we can always look at the future and trying to, I got to do this, get prepared for this. But, you know, being present in the now is what it's about. And so those moments, me spending those times, those long days, those hard runs, the sled pulls with my teammates pushing through, you know, helping my teammates get through, or somebody helping me, you know, I think that's the beautiful thing about it, you know, and you building that relationship and you coming together, and it creates beautiful moments on the field, because I know that Jahan is about to get this bubble and I have to block for him, you know, and he's depending on me to do my job. And so when we spent that time together in the offseason over and over again, pushing through, you know, it makes everything much easier, because, you know, you have a brother that's dependent on you, and he got you.
AJ, there's going to be a vote tomorrow on whether to ban the push play. I'm just curious what your thoughts have been on this kind of movement to try and ban it.
Yeah, I don't have any thoughts on it. I think it's only 1 yard, so.
How would you describe your commencement speech, and what message did you want to get across? What kind of feedback did you get from it?
Yeah, that came together perfectly. I'm still very thankful that Chancellor invited me to do that. And I just want to put out that message, just pushing through hard times, you know, and, you know, you're your own investment, you know, and that was special for me, because, you know, that's the school that, you know, I chose, and I went to play there, and like I said, it all just kind of worked perfectly for me, so.
Nick,
That's when we got Jordan out of here.
Just your thoughts on him as your head coach and what he's meant for you.
Yeah, I told I literally texted Nick last night. Told him congrats. I told him I'm done when he's done. I don't know how long his extension is, but but he was like, of course. How long is his extension? Multi-year. So we'll see. Thank y'all.
We got Jordan alive.
Thought I'd begin by wearing the shirt, so please. It's good to see you guys.
Jordan, have you watched the entirety of the Super Bowl?
One time. How's it?
Thoughts?
It was cool. I was like, yeah, this is cool.
Jordan, you've always been very vocal about your support with Nick Sirianni. How would you explain to someone who doesn't really see all behind-the-scenes stuff that he does, what he means to the team?
You know, I always go back, when I think of Nick Sirianni and the growth that he has shown, I mean, I look at my growth first, but I also see coach's growth. And I think about that time, his first press conference, or second press conference, when he talked about the flower. And now I just want to give him his flowers. I mean, he's done a phenomenal job. Phenomenal job building the culture of this locker room. And it's no surprise that he got a, multi-year contract? Does anybody know what it was worth?
Not yet.
Just want to know. I'll just ask him, but
Multi-millions.
But, you know, I'm not surprised. All the scrutiny that he's gotten, and to be able to come back every year and preach the message, but also correct his mistakes and show accountability. He's always me first, then you. And when you have a coach who allows even the players, it's not coaching-led. He says too, it's not coaching-led, it's player-led. He gives us our space to be able to create that culture as well. And we feed off that. We bounce off each other. And so he means incredibly a lot to me, but also this team, this franchise.
Jordan, you've had quite a few offensive coordinators in your time here. Obviously, Patulo, something you're familiar with. But what's the process like year in and year out? You kind of have to learn a new offense or learn a new coordinator and sort through the details.
now I know how Jalen feels. I mean, it's crazy. But thank God there's carryover, but it's no surprise to us in the offensive line room because of the way Coach Stout coaches. And it is extremely difficult at times, but also very easy. And we're pretty lucky to be coached that way because it makes it easier for these scenarios when they play out, when we lose an offensive coordinator, it's easy for us to carry over or learn something new, learn new terminology because of the way we're coached and the fundamentals in that O-line room. So for us, it's not much of a challenge. The only challenge is just getting reps at the new looks or new phrases or terminology, schemes, and that's it.
They may vote on the push play tomorrow.
Now we get into the meat and potatoes.
Yeah. Just curious, the offensive line as a group, how do you guys sort of talk about that? Or do you talk about it that much?
We don't talk about it. They call it, we run it. Simple. We know the technique that we need to do. We know where we need to be.
But as far as them potentially removing it from the game, do you guys?
Nah, man, it's not up to us. And we can't control they rule it or not. What they're ruling the push.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we just do it without no push then. I think that's the solution.
Effect would that have, not having the push? I mean,
I don't know. I'm not a Mr. Analytics guy or stats keeper. You might have to look that up, what this conversion rate is. But listen, guys, as in terms of them banning the tush push, I hate that name, so I hope they do ban it. It's a stupid name. But I can't control that. We can't control it, so we don't even worry about that. Right now, we're just installing our schemes. Whatever KP is installing that day, that's what we're focused on. Because worrying about if they're going to ban the tush push or not ain't going to win us another championship. Right, what we do every day here matters.
What's Kevin like now that he's in front of the room?
He's awesome. Great communicator. Like, just very detailed, very open, very approachable. So it makes it easy for us to come to him with ideas.
Each spring the Eagles have these developmental tackles, and the narrative seems to be, I'm going to Southern University, see what happened with Jordan Mailata. How atypical, though, is your story? Like, is it hard to take someone and turn him into a starting caliber offensive line?
I can't speak on that for other people. For me, you have to meet Coach Stout halfway. That's how you become successful. When someone's extending a hand or giving you an olive branch, like, you have to be able and willing to meet him halfway. That's like half the job. If you just, as cliche as it is, if you just do what Coach is telling you to do, you'll be great. It took me a long time to realize that, and just listen to coaching, take the coaching and apply it. But, to come in that room, it's not about, I love our rookies. This is a great rookie class, like, especially in our O-line room. They work hard. And I told Miles, I told Cameron, and I told Drew, I said, I don't care if you come for my job. Like, if you're better than me, you're going to be better than me. But I'm going to make it damn hard for you to reach that. But I'm going to bring you along. I'm not going to kick you down. I said, that's not how it runs here. It's not how we do it. I bring you along because you're going to make me better. And boy, that boy is pushing me.
Which one? Both.
All three of them. Drew doesn't even play tackle. I watch him run drills. I'm like, damn, he's good. Damn, he's good.
Why are you willing to have that? We've heard about quarterbacks who won't do that for backups. Why are you willing to do that?
It's the culture that I was welcomed into. Why would I shut the door? Yeah, when I came here, JP, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, Big V, Isaac Selmalo, Wisniewski, Stefan Wisniewski, man, go down the left, Chance Womack. Those guys just welcomed me in, and they brought me along. So I feel like I owe it to these rookies to bring them along. And I just told them straight up, if you're better than me, I'll vouch for you. But I'm going to make it damn hard. Like, it ain't easy. But good luck.
So that makes you, in turn, a better player as well. Not the culture, but it drives you.
Well, I don't want to be complacent. If I feel like someone's chomping at my heels, it's going to make me run faster.
What do you like about Miles and Cam from a physical standpoint, pushing you?
The effort, the grind. couple days we had to get on them a little bit. I got them a little bit. Now we're in the second week together, mate. Just the effort they put in the drills, when they make a mistake, they correct it the next day. Like that is showing that someone is coachable. It's not just the physical side. It's can they learn from their mistakes and can they apply it the next day when we're doing that drill? And mate, Miles and Cam are doing a great job.
How's the competition at right guard looking?
The competition? I didn't realize there was a competition.
Okay, so who's got the job?
Oh, mate, you tell me. The other one.
Well, I mean, Beckton's gone. I'm just saying that,
So who would fill in now?
Asking you, who's been filling?
You should ask Howie. That's a Howie question.
Well, how do you see that position?
It's the same thing.
Replacing Mackay, how's that going?
That's a big loss, replacing Mackay. So those guys know that, and they know that the opportunity is there. Whoever's going to fill in our right guard. I'm not going to give you guys any who's running with the ones or twos, but these guys know that the opportunity, the door is wide open. Now they have to show us every day. They have to be consistent. And right now, it's a tough competition.
What is it like having that stability?
It's a tough competition. I know there's competition. I was being an asshole. I'm sorry. Pardon my language. I was being an asshole. I'm just going to tell you straight. I'm not telling you guys anything.
If I could kind of follow up with that, what was it like, the stability around all the other spots in the offensive line? I mean, 4 guys, you guys are all pretty much entrenched, and then, be able to work in like a different right guard every year. How is that possible, I guess?
Coaching. That's where Stout is like our, what's the term? Golden gun? Silver bullet? I don't know. The American sayings. You have so many. And so, Stout and his coaching is the reason why we're able to, be able to fill in that right guard. Honestly, I feel bad for Lane. Lane does a hell of a job. No one ever talks about that. How many right guards has Lane played next year, and he has stellar performance every year. So, if it wasn't for Stout and Lane being able to adapt and be as great as he is, that is the reason why we're able to fill in that position.
From your perspective, what makes that tough to have to play next to a rotating cast of guards?
Trying to think of an analogy. I think, for instance, me and Landon, we have about 10,000 reps together. We count our time when we first started together, practice, OTAs, about 10,000. That's a lot of reps. You know the timing, you get the rhythm, you get the feel. That's very important, and I think it shows on the film. When you don't have that synchronicity, the timing's off, the rhythm's off, the feel's off. But for Lane, he's able to adapt. He's able to find that rhythm with that whoever he's playing next to, And it's the same when Landon's not next to me and Steen's in, or Tyler. I'm Tyler. Keegan, Trevor. When Trevor's there, that's the same thing. It's it's still good, but that rhythm is the feel, the synchronicity is not as synchronized as me and Landon, so.
How did you end up singing Tennessee Whiskey to Chris Stapleton?
Jesus. You know what, man? I appreciate you leaving that as the last question, man. Are we sure we should let that be the last question? Jason Kelsey came in. He was like, hey, you ever met Chris Stapleton? Just tapped me on the shoulder. And I was like, nah. He's like, you want to meet him? I was like, hell yeah. Went down there and met Chris. And he's like, I hear Kelsey telling him about, Jordan sang your song for his rookie performance, rookie song. And Chris was like, yeah, sing me something. I was like, I don't really have my guitar right now. And he's like, that's a shame. And then everyone that we were with was like, you're lying, you can do it a cappella. And I was like, fine, I'll give the people what they want. I was still so nervous. And I just remember, I'm trying to remember the words of how to, start the song. And I look at Chris and I was like, how's it go again? He's like, used to spend my nights. And I was like, all right. And that's how it happened.
Was that one of those moments where, and you look at where your journey has taken you and where it hits you?
Yeah, for sure. It didn't really hit me as big as I thought it would. At the time, it did. And then when I don't like making something bigger than it is. But the day after, I was like, yeah, that was pretty cool, for sure. And at the time, all I could think about was, man, if I had butchered it, I think I would have left that concert, gone home and screamed into my pillow and not shown my face for the rest of the year.
You mentioned that the way that Kevin leads a room makes it easy to go to him with ideas.
Yeah.
What's that idea generation like, and what's that experience been like as he's coming?
Talking about terminology, something that we can clear up to make it easier for all positions. And then also just like scheme-wise, just an idea for a scheme. And we're able to have that open dialogue. And because of our relationship, he can tell us, yeah, that was bad. That's a bad idea. Here's why. But it's not just like not shut down. There's a why. And like then I learned something that day. I was like, okay, great. Maybe I should just stick to playing that line.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
How y'all doing?
Oh, good. Thank you. Jalen, we always talk about different offensive coordinators from year to year for you, but I have one constant, and that's been Nick Sirianni all these years, and now it looks like he'll be here for a few more years. So how has he helped you, and how has that relationship been over?
Well, first and foremost, congratulations to him. Everything that he's been able to achieve and accomplish, he's earned, and just to see his evolution and his growth from my perspective and playing quarterback for him, his whole entire tenure here, it's been a great experience, been a great ride. It's been a lot of learning for the both of us, and hopefully we're just getting started.
With Kevin Patulo, a little bit different because he's been here. So how is that transition working out, the early stages of it?
Coach Patulo he's been here throughout the journey as well. He's had a different position, always played a pivotal role in what we've done, and I think he's got a great mentality and a great approach coming into everything right now. And so the bigger picture is just taking it a day at a time, truly, keeping the main thing. And I think that's where we are. Everyone's in a good place. Everyone's focused, and everyone cares about their duties and what they're supposed to do. And we've always had some type of communication in the past in prep, and so nothing really changes in terms of that. It's just kind of people with different titles. So just taking a day at a time. I think this is a season right now in the offseason where we're collectively trying to build out the system and structure things the way it's going to be for this iteration of the Eagles.
Is he keeping
terminology remain the same? Last year you talked about how different things were.
Yeah.
Is it a lot more similar this year just because he wasn't around?
There's some nuances that are different, I know in the past I gave a number, on that matter, but things evolve and things change as time goes on. And so we're just really bought into that. It's an important thing. I think that's something that I've learned as well, is you have to be able to evolve as time goes on. And so given, Coach Kevin Patulo and his new role now and him being the one in charge of offensive leadership, you get new pieces and new ideas that come from everyone, so Coach Scott, another new quarterback coach who's been great thus far, and Coach Parks Frazier, who's been great as well. And so it's still early in the process. It's still early in building this thing that we want it to be. Ultimately, it'll be a collaborative effort, and it'll take everybody just to be on that same page again to see what the iteration of this team will be.
Well, that is very important to have a new iteration.
I'm sorry?
Why is it important to have a new iteration for something that's been so successful and to have new ideas and evolve?
You have to be able to decode, detect, and then correct, and refine the things that you need to refine. I think the bigger picture, the more important thing is being able to detect what I can improve on and how important it is to improve in that. We can all work hard in something, but not necessarily be working hard on the right things. And so we were able to evolve and add a different dynamic. Obviously, we're having 2-6 back there and what he's able to do, and just kind of complimenting him in the backfield. And then, the ability to pass the ball and be efficient in that when we need to do that. And so right now it's just laying the foundation, trying to figure out what iteration of this team, what this iteration of the team will be.
What's it been like working with Leffler? I mean, he has a reputation as someone that's just going to looking at all kinds of football, and someone that values, that kind of depth and asking questions. What's that initial relationship been like?
It's been good. It's been good. He's made it very clear on he's here to enhance my game and serve and serve as be a point of service in the room. He's very knowledgeable, and I always value someone that can bring new ideas, new point of views, new perspectives to the table, because ultimately I can put it in my toolbox and lean on it when I need to. And so I think it's been great communication thus far. he's very detailed in what he does, and just excited for that journey and what it would look like.
What did it scare you?
You was cleanup day, and you said you were still processing the Super Bowl, how you felt, all that went into it. With the benefit of time now, what perspective do you have on what you accomplished?
We're here talking media, talking about the 2025 to 26 season.
Hey, when you're a spokesman for the Jordan brand, I saw on social media you spent a little time with Michael this offseason. Just in either speaking to him or in studying his story, anything that you can take from that in attempting to repeat?
Yeah. Obviously, you only think that those conversations come up, and as competitive as he is, it'd be unwise of me not to seek knowledge from him and lean on someone like that. And so that's something that I value a lot. And the biggest thing is just taking it a day at a time. We have these goals and you have these big dreams of what you want to accomplish, but ultimately it's a journey. And so take it day by day. Like I said earlier, being able to decode, detect, and correct, and pretty much just refine the things that I need to so I can be at my best when needed.
What does it mean for you in the offense that Dallas is coming back?
And it's been a big core piece here. When I look back at, just how my tenure here has been, he's been here every step of the way. And so he's always been someone that I've leaned on and had, saw great value in, his willingness to work, spend time, and prepare for the gauntlet to come in the season. So obviously excited to have him, and we're looking forward to what's to come.
We saw you here at BG's retirement. Well, why did you make it a point to be here, and what did he mean to you?
Yeah, BG was a special player, special leader, special presence. 15 years at his position, and 15 years in general, is unprecedented. But 15 years. 15 years is, it's rare. It's rare, and so that's something that I've appreciated, and being able to build with him and, learn from him in many aspects. So he's someone that'll be missed, but his presence will always be felt, and he's a big part of all of our success here, I believe, and in many ways mine.
Yeah, there's a vote tomorrow on whether to ban the push. Curious, from your perspective, how vital the push is to the sneak play for you guys. And what
I don't necessarily have a comment on that.
It's been a big off-season for you in general. Congratulations, first off, for getting married. But when it's, Met Gala, whatever, things like that, Time Magazine, how do you keep that from keeping you away from the main thing is the main thing, as you always say?
The main thing is always the main thing. And so you only know what you see, of course. The routine has always been a routine, whether we plan to February or not. And so you set goals to try and accomplish those things in that moment and in that month. Ultimately, the process is always ongoing. It's always, how can I get better? How can I improve? And carry it out. So I'm really excited about that. It's been exciting just to be here and be able to spend time with the coaches and get some timing down and get some reps and get some things under our wings so we can just continue to build, that type of rapport we need and figure out what the iteration of this team will be this season.
Jalen, how come you didn't go to the White House?
Decision to not go to the White House?
I wasn't available. I don't think that's pertinent. Everyone who went and was available, they seemed to enjoy themselves.
Jalen, has your offseason changed any since you've been named the Super Bowl MVP? Has your offseason changed a little bit, more demands on your time or anything at all?
Yeah, well, it's an adjustment period. It's an adjustment period. There are different things that I have to do within the building that have evolved and changed. I think that's just the reality of some of these things. And so it's my discipline and my focus on what the main thing is and staying true to that.
Coming back, you have, obviously you have Saquon Barkley back again. Like you mentioned, Dallas is back. You have AJ and Devontae back. How much does that help you going into a shortened off-season like you guys did with obviously getting to the Super Bowl and everything, just being a step ahead when all this starts?
Yeah, it helps. It helps absolutely. I think I look at it from the perspective of there's been, 4 years, where everyone's been here, Coach Sirianni included, and every team has been different. Every approach, the sequencing, the processing, the flow of the game, they've all looked different. From complementary football to one side of football, one phase of football, from offense, defense, special teams, etc. It's all looked different. And so the more important piece is, regardless of who you have on the team, it's about finding that flow as a team, creating an identity as a team. And that's where we are right now. It's very early. We're laying the foundation, still filtering through things, but obviously the biggest thing is what will this iteration of the team be? And I don't really care how it looks as long as we find ways to win. And so that's the competitive edge and competitive nature that we want to have and that I have. But just, taking it a day at a time with it right now.
On that note, Jalen, on that note, DJ had said, we don't know how the offense is going to look because don't know exactly how defenses are going to play.
Who was that?
AJ was saying that every year you guys don't know, obviously going in. In the Super Bowl, we saw the emphasis that Kansas City put on stopping Saquon. Obviously, you delivered in that moment. Do you anticipate it similarly being that way, especially early in the season when defenses come at you? And how do you think that's going to affect you in the offense?
I think it evolves and it looks different, right? I think in that example that you're giving, they did a pretty good job of stopping the run the first time we played them as well. So sometimes it's just how the flow of the game goes. And, regardless of what's what, we got a great dynamic when it comes to complementary players and complementary phases we have. How important defense is to me. I believe that defense win championships, and defense played their tail off all year. And ultimately, we just have to find ways to play complementary football, continue to build off of what we've done, but also knowing that it's only a template. It's only a reference in a sense, and you got to continue to grow from that and learn from, the good references and the not so good references in the sense of what our success was. And so just building that out, it'll evolve. It'll be what it'll be. Whatever it is, let's just find ways to win. Let's have that competitive edge we want as a team. Let's have the right mentality, and let's go out there and play and put winning first.
Jalen, after the Super Bowl, after the MVP, it seemed like perception caught up to how you finally viewed yourself, or how you viewed yourself. How has it been like to exist in that, and to?
What do you mean?
You've said that you've never. There's not a moment that you arrived.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've always had a side for yourself. But now that the Super Bowls are the MVPs, there seems like the accolades and the perception around you is maybe to where you viewed yourself. I'm curious how that's maybe changed, how you've interacted, how you've resisted, how you go to work, if that changes, the process for you at all, or I'm just curious how that might affect your work ahead.
No, nothing's changed in terms of, the drive and the effort and the focus that I know it takes to go out there and do what I'm asked to do. There are a lot of things that externally that you really can't control. And for me, I've just always focused inward on holding myself accountable to trying to do my best. And so there may be external perspectives on different things. Ultimately, it's all subjective, and I try and do the objective, the undeniable and winning, but also just focusing on the things I can control and taking it a day at a time. And so everything that's been accomplished to this point, it's great, but there's a desire to achieve more, and it's only intensified.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Jim.
everybody.
I don't know.
All right. How about it?
I mean, everyone knew you were going to be here pretty much, but what does it mean to you to get the extension and have that out of the way?
Yeah, just obviously very thankful to Mr. Laurie for believing in me to hire me 4 years ago, and then to continue. That I'm able to continue being the head football coach of this team, and just can't thank him and the organization and Howie enough for everything. And man, there's so many. What a great owner. What a great owner we have. And like I said, it can't be more thankful. My family's thankful. I'm thankful. And I love being the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. And, looking forward to continuing on.
How many years is multi-year?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the details of it, of any of that stuff. Sorry, I don't want to.
Is there a reason why?
No. I just won't get into the details of any of that. I know, but usually coaches' contracts are you don't get those as much, right?
This is a business where people don't stick around a lot. You've been around long enough. How nice is it for you to know that you're going to have a family, be able to raise here?
Yeah, we love this city. I know how happy I am in being able to come into this office every day and work for Mr. Laurie and work alongside Howie and with all the great players we have. And my wife loves this city. My kids love this city. And we're sure glad that it will be our home for the foreseeable future.
If you think back to the 4 years you've spent here, what do you think you've learned most about being in this job?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, you're learning that can go on. That question I could answer that for a long time. You learn every single day. You're constantly trying to grow every single day. And, I think the main things, and not that you learn it on this job, but the main things that anytime someone asks me about, what does it take to be successful or this and that, it feels like the common theme that I always come back to is you have to work your butt off. You have to work insanely hard, work harder and put in hours and put in time more than you ever thought you had to, and then you have to be able to embrace adversity. And I think, because adversity's it's coming, and so what I think you learn, not that I learned that on this job, but it's cemented even more and more every day I go through that, and so those are the keys in my mind.
What are your thoughts on everything that you've accomplished here so far, and how far you personally have come from the first press conference to the growing of the roots to a 742 winning percentage after that comment to all the ups and downs? What are your thoughts on how much you have overcome here in this role?
Again, everybody that is striving to, reach the top of the mountain or, whatever it is, like we try to do every single year, adversity is going to be there regardless. And I really look at any adversity that I've ever been through in my life, whether it was my leg injury in 2001, whether it was my dad going through cancer, whether it was the collapse of our us kind of falling apart at the end of the 2023 season and finishing 1-6. Every one of those things, whether it's scrutiny from, like you said, from your first press conference, I can look at the good in all those things and find good in all those things and how it's shaped me to be who I am today and has made me better as a result of it. And you never want to go through those things as you go through them. But man, if you allow it to shape you, it really does. It can shape you into be who you be better and to be who you are at this moment. So, I would say for all the things that I've been through, whether it's on this job or whether it's in my life, I've been able to get better from all those things. And I'm grateful. As crazy as that sounds, as bad as it is, when you go through those things, I can look back at it and be grateful. And you hope that the next adversities you go through, you remember, hey, you're going to be grateful from this one as well. So, hope I answered your question.
Somewhat of a follow-up to that. You've been at your best, it seems, when there's pressure, tension, lack of a better term there. Now that you've won the Super Bowl, you have this security. How do you manufacture that tension, discomfort, whatever term you would use there?
Yeah, I feel fortunate that I'm around a lot of guys, like our coaches, our other coaches, our players on this team, that, we have this will to win, right? You don't, someone put it this way. I've talked to a lot of coaches this offseason trying to get better at my craft, and somebody put it this way: you don't win a pickup basketball game and say, all right, I'm satisfied, I'm going home. Right? You say, hey, how do we run it back? And we're not even thinking about running. We're thinking about where we are today and trying to get better. But you strap up and you play again. And I think there's always pressure in this profession, and and looking forward to the next year and building this team. Everything else is in the past. Like everything else that goes in. I think that when teams are trying so hard to repeat or trying so hard to recapture, like, there's two mistakes that they make, right? They either are looking at their past accomplishments, or they're looking too far into the future of how do you do that again. And it's really about the daily grind that you go through day in and day out. And there's a mental toughness to being able to do that and go through that every single day. And so, I want to do my job just to do what's best for this football team, and make Mr. Lurie proud that he made the right decision and help these players continue to get better. And every challenge, there's a new challenge with every team of building the team. That's what's so cool about a season, that you start again and you're right back to the beginning and going through the same steps that you went through in the beginning. But yeah, I think, again, you're when you're self-motivated, like, and it may appear that I might be my best that when, I have scrutiny, or when as opposed to the other side, but when you're self-motivated, the outside noise shouldn't affect you and doesn't affect you. You put your head down and you work to get better.
Yeah, with the push vote coming tomorrow, are you still actively lobbying and calling around to get some support, or do you feel like the deck is stacked against you guys?
We'll see. We'll see where that goes. We're not waiting for very long to figure it out. It's gonna be public tomorrow, and you know how I feel about it. I think we obviously were at the owners' meetings. We talked about how we felt about it, and I don't think anyone could question what my sentiment is on it. So we'll see what happens with it tomorrow.
Speaking of running it back again, Jalen is going to have the new offensive coordinator, play caller again for now there's so many times in his career. How do you think he's going to handle that?
Yeah, the same way he's handled it every year. I think he's a guy that just is going to, again, same thing, start right from the beginning again, working out like crazy again, getting ready again in the classroom, getting ready on the field. And I don't notice any difference whether it was Kellen being the coordinator, Brian, Shane, or Kevin. And, I see the same process that he goes through, which is what makes Jalen special, is that he goes through the same process over and over and over again. The minute details and just the same over and over and over again. You just see him go through it and try to get better from, new experiences, new voices. I think Kevin's done a great job. I really have been impressed with how hungry Kevin is for this opportunity, and all the good new ideas that he's bringing. Even though, like, Kevin's been here for, with me for 8 years, there's still things that when you're in charge, that I'm like, hey, now let's do this. Let's give this an opportunity. So, I'm really excited about where we are there, and I don't see any change in Jalen and anything that he does and how he preps, regardless of who the coordinator is.
What have you learned about the fostering of the cultivation of those ideas? Because you have had to change coordinators a lot, and that's the mark of a consistent head coach. What have you learned that works in that regard?
Yeah. Again, you always want to do the things that your players do best. And so there's figuring out who the players are. Now Kevin's obviously been here through the 4 years. He has a very good feel of what they do and what they do well. And so you always want to do what they do best. You always want to keep things in that you've done well, that you want to continue to grow and dress up a little bit, and then also some new wrinkles that kind of mesh to that. And then you have some things that it might be brand new. But that's the beauty of the offseason. You go through your process and you decide, hey, here's what's primary, here's what's secondary, here's what's out, here's what's new. And then you start repping it, and it kind of evolves as you go.
Nick, this is your second time coming off playing in the Super Bowl. Obviously, the result different this time. But what did you learn about how playing in the Super Bowl in 2022 impacted 2023? And are there any changes you're making for this upcoming season based off that?
Yeah, there's always a fine line, I think, of managing, guys and as far as their bodies go, and then daily improvement, right? And so there is no secret. Like we talked, someone asked me earlier, and I said there is no secret. Like you have to be able to overcome adversity, and you have to work hard. And so there is a fine line between that, though, right? Of the grind that you put in of coming off of a long season, and having the guys ready to play each Sunday. And getting better, right? If you lean too far one way and say, all right, it's just important that we get to Sunday with ourselves as fresh as we can possibly be, then maybe you miss out on some opportunities to grow your fundamentals and your situational football and all the different things that it takes there. And if you lean too far the other way, you run them into the ground. So there's a fine line there. It's not and I don't think there's a handbook that says this is how long. You got to have a feel for the players. You have to have it be in constant communication with your players of how they're feeling. You got to know what players to say, hey, how are you feeling? And know who's trying to maybe get a couple reps off and who's really telling you the truth. You got to do the same thing with the doctors and the training staff. And the strength coaches. And the good thing is here, I got a lot of players that I can lean on and trust there. I got a lot of guys there with Nando and Tom and Arsh that, are, give me their best advice as well. And then it's my job to listen to all parties and do what I think's best for the football team while having all that information. And so, there is a fine line, but I know there's no substitute for hard work and getting better. But then again, you gotta think about the length of the season and where you are at that particular point, because one week might be a little bit harder than another week, and all those things are balanced out and thought about each and every week.
You said you've spoken to a lot of coaches. Who have you spoken to, and who gave that pickup basketball analogy? I can't remember who gave the pickup basketball analogy, but I've talked to I've talked to a bunch of different guys. I don't mind sharing that with you. I always talk to Coach Karras. I always talk to Coach Wright. I was fortunate to speak with Coach Saban this year, Coach Gino at UConn, Coach Staley at South Carolina. So there's just been a lot of good insight that I've been able to pick up from them. And again, you got to continue to try to grow at all times. So just been thankful for them for them talking to me and passing on knowledge of questions that I have.
Nick, how are you able to turn the page from we won the Super Bowl to, okay, now we got to look ahead to next year?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Yeah, at what point during the offseason were you able to turn the page from we won the Super Bowl to, okay, let's look ahead to next year?
I know this sounds crazy, but right away. Of course, I enjoyed the parade, and of course, I enjoyed the flight back home. But and Kellen got the job, and then you're right back into filling coaching spots. So there's your calendar is always completely full, and you're just constantly trying to get better at what you did the year before. Like how do you hire coaches better, and then go through that process, and then it's into to the draft and free agency, and then it's into players phase one, and then so. Yeah, you got to turn the page. You can enjoy it, but you can enjoy it for a little bit. But you got to turn the page, and you got to turn the page quickly, because we'll have a high standard for ourselves. I know you all will have a high standard for us, but we know how high our standard is for ourselves, and it takes steps, and that's mental toughness. And I think I talked about this with the players today. I think sometimes when I talk, I tend to talk to them a lot about mental toughness, and I talk to them about overcoming adversity, and that's a big part of mental toughness. But another part of this mental toughness thing is going through the same monotonous things over and over and over again, and having the same attitude and effort no matter what the circumstances are, right? Oh man, we just went through this draft process. Well, let's do it again. And so there's a mental toughness to doing the same things and the same steps over and over again. I'd like to also say, I couldn't tell you how many players, and coaches had come up to me and just say congratulations. And it felt like my response was, again, I got a chance to thank Mr. Lurie and in my opening, what I said up right away, but it felt like with every player that I talked to, the main thing that was coming out of my mouth was, well, I'm not in this situation without great players, and I'm not in this situation where I'm able to sign a new contract without great coaches, and I'm not in this situation to be here without Howie. So it truly is. You can't be great without the greatness of others, and whether it was Jalen coming up to me, and said the same thing to all the guys: Jalen, Dallas, Clint Hurt, Vic. Howie. And so, again, it just shows you how awesome a team sport like football is. It takes everybody, and sure, I'm grateful for Mr. Lurie and all the players and all the coaches here that put me in this position to be able to do this.
From that
Go
professional
ahead.
standpoint,
Last one.
University and all that, but on a personal level, is there any validation, Super Bowl extension, just when you're by yourself,
again, all that, like, you can either go at it and be like, look at me now, but I don't think that like, again, I'm grateful for all those scrutiny. I'm grateful for that for multiple reasons, right? I'm grateful in the sense that it shapes you to who you are going to be, right? God puts you through things, and it shapes you to who He wants you to be. And then also, through scrutiny and through different things like that, and adversities that you face, I'm going to be able to raise my kids, and they're naturally going to be able to, they're going to be going through things, and I'm going to be able to look back at things. And there's another reason I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that in the sense as well of players that are going to have to go through that, because we're all no one's exempt from adversity that you go through in the challenges of the NFL. So I don't think you can have a grateful heart for the things that you've went through to shape you to who you are, and then on the other end go, oh, look, what do you say? You know what I'm saying? And so that gratefulness of the scrutiny and of the adversity and all those things that you said, it's not validating. It's a grateful heart more so than the validation of a contract or a Super Bowl.
All right. Thanks, folks. We got to get out of here.